Okay, have a good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. We will officially open this meeting to this L&I Board Review session for today, May 23rd, 2023. The board will now introduce itself to everyone. And I'd also advise all of those who are observing that if your case is called and it is announced as moot or moot complied, that means that you are done for today. Matter has been resolved. If you need explanation as to what moot or moot complied means, please call the board administration. The individuals there will walk you through that, and you won't need to intervene and disrupt the hearing to try to get an explanation. So please pay attention so that your matter, if it's called, then you're done. We have quite a few cases to hear today, and we want to get through it and have everyone have an opportunity to be heard. So that's where we are today. Okay. Again, I'm Kenneth Woodson, board chair.
Ralph Pincus, board member.
Steve Pettit, board member.
Cortez Patton, board member.
Ryan McSherry, board counsel.
Okay. Mr. Wade,
Yes,
you were introducing ourselves.
Richard Wade, Board Administrator.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to hear from the law department. Is there anyone designated to give us a list of cases that are being continued or otherwise resolved?
Good afternoon, board members. Jim Kelly on behalf of the city.
Good afternoon, Mr. Kelly. What do you have for us?
So starting with number 1, HA 2022-002-949-3133 Holly Road, Bernadette O'Neill, moot comply.
Moot complied, thank you.
Number 2, HA 2022-000-068, 2001 Cemetery Avenue, moot.
Moot, okay, thank you.
Number 3, HA 2022-003-133, 2005 Walnut Street. That's a continuous request that the city's not opposing.
We'll note it as continued. Thank you.
Mr. Kelly, excuse me, Ralph Pincus speaking. You may want to mention the name of the primary appellant on these cases in the event that they're present and some action is now being announced. They may or may not be focused on the case number or the address. So please also add the names that are associated with the appeal.
Sure. Number 4, HA 2022-002-947, 1415 South Phillip Street, Lino Carosella, moot complied.
Moot complied, thank you.
Number 5, HA 2022-003-028, 4256 Regent Square, J. Matthew Wolf, Denise M. Fury, moot complied.
Moot complied, thank you.
Number 6, HA 2022-002-940, 1626 Harrison Street, Ann Garcia, moot complied.
Moot complied, thank you.
Number 7, HA 2022-003-073, 898 Moorfield Road, AG Abraham. The city is requesting a continuance on that case due to L&I witness unavailability.
Okay, is anyone here present representing 898 Moorfield Road? AJ Abraham. Anyone present?
Yes,
Please unmute. Mr. Abraham, the city's asked that we continue that case because their witness is not available. Do you understand where we are? We can't hear you, sir. We can't hear you.
I think he's also logged in on his telephone for audio.
That's correct. He just needs to unmute. I sent him the prompt.
Okay. Mr. Abraham, please unmute on your telephone.
Or press *6, I think.
Is he still with us?
He is.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 second, sir.
Well, let's do this.
He's speaking. He's
Coming
there.
back, Mr. Woods, Mr. Chairman, he's come, he just. No? I guess
Mr.
not.
Abraham, are you
Yes,
able
sir.
to communicate? Yes, now the city's asked for a continuance. And do you object or you're okay with that?
And I just want to know, sir, like I'm for the safety purpose, I just done the fencing there, like I have some.
I'm
kids
not,
and-
Miss
that-
Abraham, I'm not, Miss Abraham, we aren't arguing the facts of the case. The city's asked that we reschedule it because the witness that they need to have is not available. He's in mandatory training. Just wanted to know, do you have an objection to that?
No object, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate your willingness to be cooperative, and we apologize for any inconvenience this has created for you, but we'll reschedule your case.
Yeah.
Okay? Okay, thank you
Okay,
very
thank you,
much.
sir.
Okay, all right. What's the next one, Mrs. Kelly?
That'll be number 8, HA 2022-003-007, 6221 Jefferson Street, Mark Collier, moot complied.
Move comply, thank you.
The next one, number 10, HA 2022-003-070, 6516 Castor Avenue, Yenny Ballesteros, moot complied.
Move comply, thank you.
Number 11, HA 2022-003-129, 1337 South Woodstock Street, Steve Steinbrook. There's been an agreement reached for a city affirm with a $500 fine.
$500 fine?
Yes.
Okay. Is anyone here present representing Mr. Steinbrook? Is he present?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Mr. Steinbrook, do you concur that that was the agreement, the nature of the agreement?
Yeah, there's actually
Okay.
two. I guess maybe the next one is ours as well. There was two.
Okay. Well, we'll go each case,
That one was-
call each
yep.
one in order, okay?
Okay, yep.
All right, now we'll poll the board regarding HA 2022-003-129-1337 South Woodstock Street, Steve Steinbrook. City affirm per the agreement, $500 fine.
City affirmed per the agreement with a $500 fine.
City affirmed per the agreement with a $500 fine.
City affirmed per the agreement, $500 fine.
Thank you very much. Okay, that matter's resolved. Okay, what do we have next, Mr. Kelly?
That would be number 12, I'm sorry, number 12, HA 2022-002-879, 2296 Bryn Mawr Avenue, Rodney Wright and Monique Gray Wright. That's the same request for a continuance due to witness unavailability.
Okay, is anyone here present representing the rights?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Wright, we have a similar problem as you did in another case that the individual inspector has been called away on mandatory training and is not available. And so the city's asked to reschedule this matter. Just want to get on the record your response to that request.
That's fine.
Okay, all right, thank you. Oh, one thing that I would ask you, property in question, is this owned by the two of you as individuals, or is it a corporation involved or LLC?
Wait, it's our personal home.
Our primary property.
Oh, okay, so it's just your two names on the deed then.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. We will continue this matter and give you a new date. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your cooperation, and please accept my apologies for the inconvenience.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Okay, have a good afternoon.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if I may, cases 2 and 3 were continued, but the names of the appellants were not called out. I'm wondering if in either case, the appellants might be present and needed.
Okay. Well, let's do this. Of the first 3 cases, number 3 was the one that was continued. So, Mr. Kelly, would you put that person's name on the record, please?
Sure, number 3, HA 2022-003-133, Michael Singer.
Okay. Anyone, is Mr. Singer present for 2005 Walnut Street?
I don't see anyone under that name.
Okay. Okay, if that person does appear, please inform them of the status of the case, Mr. Wade.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, let's go back to the list.
Okay, the next one would be number 13, HA 2022-003-044, 3149 Jasper Street, Baditza Cadillo and Jorge Deco. That's the same thing. The city's requesting a continuance due to witness unavailability.
Okay, is anyone present representing that property, 3149 Jasper Street? Is he-
here.
Okay, who is we?
Belisa Cadillo, Jorge Deco.
Okay, thank you. The city again has asked for a continuance because the inspector is in mandatory training. And so I just want to, do you have an objection to that?
No, we don't. And also we want to note that he might, if you don't allow me to translate, he might need a translator.
Okay, what we'd like you to do is to amend your, check in with the administrator so we can get a professional translator for you, okay?
Thank
Because
you.
we're required to do that. Now, is this property the two of you own it as a personal property or is it company property?
He owns it as his own property. It's already paid for and everything. That's all he has. He's like 67 years old.
Okay, and your role in this matter?
He's expedited. I'm helping him do the zoning part of the
Okay.
permit.
So that means we really will need a translator because that person will help him speak for himself. And
Okay.
you may become a witness, but you would not be the primary spokesperson.
No problem. Thank you,
Okay.
Dawn.
All right, thank you very much. Have a good day. So that
You
matter
too.
should be noted as continued. Okay, let's move on.
Next one, number 14 HA 2022 002-884, 724 to 726 South 4th Street, 724 South 4th Street, owner LLC, moot complied.
Move comply, thank you.
Number 15 HA 2022 002-880, 5600 North Camac Street, Felicia Parkin. I believe that one has been withdrawn.
Yes.
Okay, that's withdrawn. Okay, thank you.
Number 16 HA 2022 002-951, 2150 Ridge Avenue, Laura Terranova, moot complied.
Move comply, thank you.
Number 19 HA 2022 002-950, 416 Slocum Street, Nashwat Hussein Sagaf, moot complied.
Move comply, thank you.
Number 20 HA 2022 003-132, 2610 South Fairhill Street, Jing Lin and Jing Zhao, that has also been withdrawn.
Withdrawn, okay, thank you.
Number 22 HA 2022 003-118, 6210 Jefferson Street, Daniel Hillian, moot complied.
Move comply, thank you.
Number 25 HA 2022 003-094, 3923 North 17th Street, Allende Warren, moot.
Moot, thank you.
Number 26 HA 2022 003-134, 545 North Broad Street, Edward Doherty, moot.
Moot, thank you.
Number 27 HA 2022 003-100, 2159 Benson Street, Camille Hamid, doing business as Jomari LLC, moot complied.
Move comply, okay.
Number 29 HA 2022 003-171, 5618 North 18th Street, Charmaine Russell, moot complied.
Move complied, thank you.
Number 30 HA 2022 003-140, 1335 South Woodstock Street, Steve Steinbrook. This is also an agreement for a city affirm with a $500 fine.
Okay, agreement, city affirm, $500 fine. Okay, Mr. Steinbrook, just want you to go on the record and indicate whether or not you concur with the agreement.
Yes, I do concur.
Okay, thank you. We will poll the board on HA 2022-003-140, 1335 South Woodstock Street, Steve Steinbrook, city affirm, per the agreement, a $500 fine.
City affirm per the agreement with a $500 fine to be paid by the appellant.
City affirmed per the agreement with a $500 fine.
City affirmed per the agreement, $500 fine.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Steinbrook, I believe that's all your matters for today, so you may be excused. One
Thank you, Brent.
note,
Yeah.
Mr. Steinbrook, one note I'll make for you though is that it appears that these properties are owned by LLC. So if
Right.
have a need to come back before the board and to argue a matter, you have to be represented by legal counsel.
Right. Yep, I understand that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, have a
Thank you,
good
guys.
day.
You
Okay,
too.
all righty. Mr. Kelly,
Number 31, HA 2022-003069, 1248 South 45th Street, John Cassidy, moot.
moot, thank you.
Number 33, HA 2022-002990, 2233 South Woodstock Street, Majdi Sabek. That's also the city requesting a continuance based on witness unavailability.
Okay, Mr. Sebek, are you available? Sebek. 2233 South Woodstock Street. Anyone available representing the interest in that property? Okay, none responding. We will continue this matter. Thank you.
Number 35, HA 2022-002929, 2900 Almond Street, Alex Deku, moot complied.
Who complied? Thank you.
And number 36, HA 2022-003130, 4620 Fern Hill Road, moot complied.
Who complied? Thank you.
Those are all that I have. I'm not sure if my colleagues have others.
Anyone else from the law department have a matter that's been resolved or special status you'd like to put on the record? Okay,
Yes, thank you, Chairman Woodson.
Mr. Cohen.
Jeffrey Cohen for the city. For number 24, this is HA 2022-003063 involving 4905 Arch Street, appellant Harry Thomas. The city's witness has to leave by 4 p.m. if this one can be given a priority ordering on today's list.
Okay, we will bump that up then. Okay,
Thank you very much.
so noted. Okay,
I believe Ms. Costello has an agreement on case number 9. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
Ms. Costello.
Case number 9, appeal HA 22941. That's 2134 North 19th Street, Arlson Silva. We have a city of Firm with a $500 fine agreement.
Okay, all right. Is Arlson Silva present?
He has an attorney and were unable to make the Zoom today, but I did forward the agreement to the board.
Okay, all right. And there's concurrence between the parties that the agreement is satisfactory.
Yes.
Okay, we will poll the board on HA 2022-002941, 2134 North 19th Street, Arlson Silva, city of Firm, per agreement, $500 fine.
City affirmed per agreement, payment of a $500 fine.
City affirmed per the agreement with a $500 fine.
City affirmed per agreement, $500 fine.
Thank you very much. Okay,
And-
Zeynep, yes,
I have one other matter, Chairman Woodson. Number
Yes.
8.
Number eight?
Number
Oh.
18, appeal number HA 2022-003027. That's 1934 Ron Street.
oh, wait, just one
he-
moment. What number was that though? You said number 8,
18.
18. Oh, okay,
Mhm.
okay.
That's Oliver Quispe was the appellant for that matter. I do have an agreement with him. I'm just waiting for a signature. But if he's on the Zoom, I can
Okay, is
read it
Mr.
into the record.
Is Oliver Crispe present?
I don't see him.
Ms. Costello, do you know if Mr. Crispe is the actual owner? Because we have a standing note in our file that this may be have an issue with standing.
I believe he is the contractor. So,
Okay.
so no, then he wouldn't be the actual owner of the property.
Okay, let's do this. Let's hold this one until the end, until he shows up, and then we will call
Okay.
it in regular order. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else have anything? The board does have one or two matters it just wants to bring up at this time. Just give me a moment to go through my list here. Number 34, HA-2022-003-072-2401 East Norris Street, Joe Beckham. Who's representing the city? And is anyone representing that address, Mr. Beckham?
Hi, I'm Joe Beckham.
Mr. Beckham, just one moment, please. Which attorney is representing the city in this matter? Okay, not everyone should speak at once.
Sorry, I may have missed that one. I'm sorry, that case is also moot.
That matter is moot. Okay, Mr. Beckham, that matter is moot.
Okay,
All right, thank you very much.
thank you. Bye.
Right. Okay. Well, I think that solves the outstanding questions that the board had. And okay, well, let's do this then. Let's go to the list, and Mr. Wade, let's start calling the remaining matters.
Were we going to start with case number 24?
Yes, let's start with that one, Mr. Thomas.
Case number 24, hearing appeal number HA 2022-003063 4905 Arch Street, Harry Thomas.
Mr. Chairman, I thought we were going to wait till 4 o'clock.
Oh, no, we had to get, he needed to leave at 4 o'clock.
Okay, okay.
Yep. Yeah, we were trying to do the reverse.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Who's representing this matter?
Good afternoon, members of the board. Jeffrey Cohen for the city in this matter, and thank you very much for bumping us up for the city's witness.
Okay. Is Mr. Thomas available?
Yes, he is. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
yes, I can hear you now. Mr. Thomas, would you raise your right hand so that you may be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. You can place your hand down. Sir, it appears that you're in a vehicle. Are you driving at this moment?
No, I parked because I actually came downtown to the lawyer's office because they sent me an email Friday evening about the meeting today, and I assumed it was at his office. When I got to his office, his secretary came downstairs and told me it was on Zoom, but nobody sent me the Zoom information.
Okay, are you being represented by legal counsel in this matter? You have a lawyer for this?
I wasn't able to get my lawyer because, again, they just sent me the hearing date Friday evening for today.
Okay, well,
And
let me ask you, wait, before you go too far, I just want to ask you this. Is it your preference that you be represented by an attorney in this matter?
No, I think I can have.
Okay, all righty. Now, the property in question, this 4905 Arch Street, is that owned by you as an individual?
Yes, it is.
It's not owned by an LLC, or you don't have any other partners on the deed, anything like that?
No.
Okay, all righty. We will proceed. You're absolutely certain that you don't need your lawyer to represent you? Mr. Thomas, I was asking that question again.
Oh, no.
Okay, all right, thank you. Well, the board has already introduced itself. Who's representing the city? I guess that's Mr. Cohen. Mr.
Yes,
Cohen,
correct.
please proceed.
Well, let's swear in Inspector Brett McDonald from
Mr.
LNI.
McDonald. Okay, he needs to activate his screen, turn on his video.
He's been waiting and ready. I just give him a moment.
Okay,
I think we can see his shoulder.
Oh,
That's all right.
he's
There we go.
okay.
okay.
All right.
Mr. McDonald, actually, you can pull your screen back a bit so we can see your full face, your full
Okay.
profile. Okay, it's still not working, but you
Let me
hit
see.
it, you tap your head. There you go. There we go.
Perfect.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. You can place your hand down, Mr. Cohen.
Thank you. Inspector McDonald, if you can stay in camera or move the camera with
Okay.
you wherever. Perfect. How many years have you worked for LNI and in what capacity?
Been with LNI now for almost 10 years.
And in what capacity?
Code enforcement. Code enforcement yes. Code
Well,
enforcement.
specifically, is it as an inspector in the code enforcement division?
Yes.
And through the course of your duties, have you come across and inspected 4905 Arch Street?
Yes, I have.
And have you also reviewed L&I's records for that property?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to start by sharing on my screen the exhibits packet that was already shared ahead of time with Mr. Thomas and with the board. All right, just let me know when you can see the screen, Inspector.
Yes, I see it.
All right, perfect. I'm going to jump to page 2 in the packet. And just for the record, any highlights in these documents are not in the original. I have added highlighting to emphasize certain things in the documents. Inspector, if you can tell us, what is this document that is currently on screen?
This is the violation notice in order to correct for, that's when we send out the violation notice for the owner to take care of the property.
And is this also for 4905 Arch Street?
And it's for 4905 Arch Street, yes.
Who was it issued to and what address was it sent to?
It was sent to Harry Thomas, 1039 East Horder Street, Philadelphia, PA 19150.
And let's scroll down a little bit. Can you tell us what, if any, violations were at this property?
The front porch of the property was in pretty bad shape. And the front door, the bay window had chippings and stuff like that, it was, coming apart. And I think that was pretty much it.
Well, specifically, before we move on to the next page, specifically with respect to the front porch, was it in, per the language that it says over here, was it in good repair or was it not in good repair?
It was not in good repair, sir.
And specifically with respect to that second story bay window, you mentioned chipping. Was the chipping revealing any substance or material underneath the paint?
Yes, it was.
And was that, what type of substance or material was it?
I'm gonna just say it was regular, whatever it was, whatever used to be there. I guess the paneling, whatever that was. Yeah.
Can I speak?
No, Mr. Thomas, you have an opportunity when Mr. Cohen
Yes.
finishes it.
Yes, sir.
He's questioning his witness.
Well, before I move on to the next page, who did the first inspection that resulted in this violation notice?
It was me, Inspector McDonald.
And now moving down to the second page, what is the last violation that was listed in this notice?
And that was that was for the vacant license.
So when does a property need to get a vacant license?
Properties, if it's say if the owner doesn't live at the property and the property that is vacant, he has to have a vacant license for the property.
Well, what if a property is being worked on or renovated?
Well, if it's being worked on and renovated, the owner of the property also have to have permits on the property if he's doing any work.
And I would actually point out for the board, I've highlighted these sections here, which are also the sections of Philadelphia Code Section 93905. A vacant license is required when a structure lacks the habitual presence of human beings with the legal right to be there, meaning, people who own the property, rent the property, or at which substantially all lawful business or construction operations has ceased. And that, I believe, is what the inspector was referring to with the needing permits.
Okay.
Now we'll move on to the next, 2 pages down to page 5 in the packet. Inspector, what is this that I'm showing on screen?
That's the property, 4905.
And who
Arch
took
Street.
this photo?
I took that photo, sir.
And could you explain to us what these metal beams are here underneath the front porch?
Well, it looks like they're just trying to hold up the porch from falling.
But specifically, this one beam here looks like it's actually 2 pieces of wood that are, I guess, nailed together.
Yep, yes.
Is
And-
that structurally sound?
No, not at all.
And under this porch, I guess, overhang, can you see inside the porch roof?
A little bit, I can, yes.
Well, actually,
You can, yeah, you actually can see inside.
this photograph, did you take this photograph on June 21st of 2022?
Yes.
Now I'm going to scroll down to page 6.
Mhm.
Did you also take this photograph?
Yes.
When did you take this photograph?
Now I took that one March 23rd, 2023.
And I guess this photograph gives us a much better
Yes.
picture of the porch. Now, can you see into the opening between the porch roof and the overhang in this photo?
Yes.
What, if any, issues can arise from like an open porch overhang?
Well, with this here, that can, all kind of wild animals can go in there, squirrels, raccoons, or whatever. And the problem is they start chewing through stuff and they can get into the neighbor's porch or, anything. They just, they could just start chewing and go back all the way down the block.
Is that something you would expect to be closed up to be considered in good repair?
Yes.
And now I'm going to specifically zoom in on that second story bay window. Was this the chipping you were referring to on the bay window?
Yes.
What material appears to be underneath?
Looks like it's I guess it's the original. I can't tell. Well, I know it's yeah, it needs to be done over.
Well,
Yeah.
by done over, what is the purpose of applying a new coating to chipping paint?
Oh, it's just for the applying. I mean, it's just for cold, for the cold. It's just that it shouldn't be because it causes other problems.
Problems like mold or deterioration of the underlying materials.
Yes. Yes.
So applying another coat of paint or sealant would be a way of preventing moisture from getting in?
Yes.
Okay. And with that, I'm going to scroll down to the next page, just briefly to mention that this is the blur appeal filed by Mr. Thomas. In his appeal, he does not address any of the physical property issues. His appeal simply says the house is not vacant and is being worked on. And I will move down from here to page 10 in the packet. Inspector, what is this that I'm showing on screen?
That is the Eclipse.
Well, specifically,
that's the address.
Were there any permits issued for this address in recent years?
No.
And moving down here, what is this document that I have on screen?
And that's part of the Eclipse system. That lets you know if somebody has a rental license or a vacant license.
And it looks like for this property, Mr. Thomas previously had a rental and a vacant license. Is that correct?
Yes.
And actually, let's zoom in. Just to note, the rental license is on top. When did that expire?
Rental license expired in 2015.
And just to note, the vacant license that was issued for this property, when did that expire?
The vacant license expired in 2016, April 30, 2016.
And was it ever renewed?
No, it was never renewed.
And actually, that's I got a little ahead of myself. The next page, page 12. What is on page 12?
Page 12 is is saying that the vacant property, the vacant license expired on April 30th, 2016.
So essentially, he gets the rental license. It expires February 2015. He then gets this vacant license in February 2015 and lets it expire within whatever, a year.
Yeah, yes.
And have there been any property licenses issued for this property since then?
No.
Scrolling down to here, what is this document on page 13 that I have on screen?
That's the water bill.
Is this something the city keeps in the ordinary course of its business?
No, not really.
Or something the city water department keeps in the ordinary course of its business?
Yes.
And what is the water usage that's shown on this bill for the past year?
0.
Is that right here in the middle
Yes.
where it says you should hit?
Yes.
What, if anything, can you infer from flat zeros in water usage for the past year.
That's nobody's been living in that property.
And where was this water bill sent to?
My water bill was sent to 1039 East Porter Street, Philadelphia, PA 19150.
And scrolling down again to page 14. This is an Office of Property Assessment record for 4905 Arch Street. What's the mailing address that the Office of Property Assessment has on file for this property?
The mailing address is 1039 East Porter Street, Philadelphia, PA 19150.
And is that also where the notice went, notice of violations?
Yes,
And where the water bill went?
yes.
And scrolling down at last to, here we go, page 18 in the packet. This is actually the Office of Property Assessment for 1039 East Porter Street. What's the mailing address here?
Mailing address is there. It's 1039 East Porter Street as well.
And is it also owned by Mr. Thomas, the appellant?
Yes,
And more importantly, if we scroll down 2 pages here to page 20, does Mr. Thomas treat 1039 East Porter Street as his homestead for tax purposes,
yes.
but not 4905 Arch Street?
Not 4905, right.
All right, thank you very much, Inspector.
Mhm.
I would offer up the inspector for cross-examination, and I can keep the exhibits on my screen in case Mr. Thomas wants to use any of them.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Thomas, do you have any questions for Mr. McDonald based on his testimony?
Yeah, on this testimony, let's start with the vacancy. The property isn't vacant. I have electric on there.
Now, Mr. Thomas, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. I asked you if you have any questions for him. You can make your argument in a moment, but right now you're asking him questions based on his testimony.
Okay, when I first got this violation, I've been calling him and leaving messages at least 30 or 40 times with no response. Okay,
What's the question?
well, the question was, I'm asking him, well, what was he looking at? Say, as far as the porch was concerned, the porch was supported.
Okay, Mr. Thomas, you saw the presentation and you saw the photographs. We all saw that. So I'm not sure what you want him to
Well,
say that he hasn't said.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out how he came to his conclusion on certain
Okay.
matters.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Mr. McDonald, how did you determine, based on what you saw and what we saw in the photographs, that this property was vacant?
Well, also when I went to the property, I knocked on the door as well, and nobody came to the door.
Doesn't
And,
matter.
and
Mr. Thomas, wait a minute. Hold on a second, Mr. Thomas.
I'm
There will
sorry.
not be, listen to me, there will not be, this is not an argument that you're going to have with an individual. He will testify, then you can testify and put your facts on, and then we will decide. But there won't be crosstalk back and forth. He's responding to your question, okay?
Okay.
Please proceed, Mr. McDonald.
Also, when I knocked on the door, nobody came to the door. And for him to say he called me 30 to 40 times, he hasn't called me at all. And if he anything, he could have sent me an email. I never even received the email from him as well.
Okay,
about
but
the
that wasn't a
property.
question. Mr. McDonald, only respond to questions, okay?
Okay.
Again, I'll give you the same admonishment. There's
Right.
no argument between you and the appellant.
Okay, sorry about that.
Mr. Thomas, you have any other questions?
No, but I would like to explain what's
Okay,
going.
sure. I give you a minute. I give you a moment to do that. Just one moment, okay? Let me go
Well,
back to
if-
the city. Mr. Cohen, you have any additional witnesses, or you want to call Mr. Thomas?
Oh, I actually was going to ask Mr. or Inspector McDonald to clarify about the communications that he had or attempted to have with Mr. Thomas.
Okay,
Just
please.
because the question wasn't asked, I'll ask it explicitly. Inspector McDonald, what communications, if any, did you have with Harry Thomas?
I didn't have any at all with Mr. Thomas at all.
And
I didn't, he said he called 30 or 40 times. The clerks never sent me anything about that property, or I haven't received the email from him as well, which, my email address is on the notice of violation.
I was going to ask you about that specifically. Up here in the top right corner, is that the code enforcement district's phone number, and email address.
Yes.
And then scrolling down. Here it is. On the third page in the or fourth page in the packet, third page of the notice, does it specifically say if you have any questions regarding the notice, contact Brett McDonald, and is that your email address there?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Inspector. If Mr. Thomas has any questions about what I've just asked, I think he should have an opportunity.
Sure. Any questions, Mr. Thomas?
Well, the only thing is, if I can pull, well, I can't do it now, but if I can pull my phone records from my cell phone, which I use 99% of the time, I can show that the office been called and messages has been left on the voicemail.
Okay. Okay.
Countless.
Okay.
At this
So
time, I think I should stop sharing my screen and we can give Mr. Thomas an opportunity to present his case.
Okay. Mr. Thomas, what would you like to share with us regarding this matter?
Okay, so as far as the vacancy, the electric is on in the house, the gas is on, the water's on, everything's on in the property. The property's not vacant. Every now and then my niece or my nephew stay at the property. Inside the property on the second floor, refrigerator, bed, everything, the whole 9 yards, living room set, everything. All right. I let them basically use the property when she was having issues with her husband or boyfriends or whatever. But anyway, the property isn't vacant. I got electric bill now, which I can show you.
Do you have it available to show us?
I have electric bill for first floor and second floor.
Well, now, when I say show it to us, you can't just put it before the screen. You have to be able to share your record. Can you do that? Did you submit it as part of your evidence?
Nobody told me I had to submit it for that, but I have it right here in my hand. Can I show it?
Mr. Thomas, you didn't read the instructions on the notices that you received. Okay. All right. Doing it that way won't help because we can't read that. You have to submit it as the lawyer did and share your screen. Okay.
All right. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how to do all that. I know I got the electric bill right here.
Well, this is your appeal, sir. So either you have a lawyer or you experience yourself. So you have to be prepared for this.
I got the right here. I got the water bill, 4905 Arch.
Okay, thank you. Anything else you want to share with us? Because there's probably a few questions that we would have. Anything else you want to share?
Okay, can I address the porch issue?
Sure.
Okay, on the porch. If you look, the porch is supported by 2 6x6 pressure treated posts, which is tied into the masonry by 3/4 inch center bolt. All right. It's also tied into 2 2x12x8 sandwich pieces going across the top.
Well, let's do this. Let's put the photo up and you can explain it to us with the photo up. Mr. Cohen, would you put that photo back up, please?
Of course. Give me just one moment.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
if I may, it's just an observation. There are 2 different photos of the porch. This photo here is March of, the one that's now in front of us is from March of 2023. The original violation notice had a different photo with what do you want to call it? 2x4s or boards showing a clearly perhaps insupportable pieces there. So the violation as originally written probably was valid. I don't know.
Okay. I just,
yeah.
What would it, I just wanted Mr. Thomas to share. He was explaining what he said was in place, and I wanted to use the photos as a way to illustrate so he can point out to us what
Sure.
supported his argument. So, Mr. Thomas, which photo is the one that you think is most accurate?
The first photo was the one that he took with the 2 supporting beams, which has since been removed and the repair made.
Okay. When was the repair made?
The repair was made almost like maybe a week, 2 weeks after I got this violation notice.
Do you have a photo of the repaired condition or the current condition?
This is it. The second photo is a picture of the repair. The boards are removed, and if you see on each end, the porch is supported by 2 6x6 pressure treated posts. And
Okay.
the concrete posts underneath. They're also tied in up top, going across from post to post. I have two 2x12x8 going across, which top of the porch is resting on. which is
Okay,
to land an airplane on. So there's
Okay.
no thing about the porch falling or any.
well, you still have open cavity though, correct?
Yeah. The open cavity was left because at the time there was bees and stuff flying around up there, and I'm allergic to bees. Okay. Since then, the cavity has been closed up.
So if we were to go to the property today, the cavity would be closed.
The cavity will be closed.
Do you have a photograph proving that point?
I have a photo in my phone.
Can you share that with, is that a photo that we can see that you wouldn't put on as evidence?
I don't know how to do that. I can go to it in my phone, but then I would have to send it to you.
Okay, Mr. Thomas, I'm not sure what we're gonna be able to do about that, but okay. All right.
That's been closed. And as far as he's talking about the paint chipping or whatever, alongside the siding, that's aluminum. Okay, that's not wood. It's not going to rust. It's not going to store any mold or mildew. That's aluminum. If you look at the property beside mine on the left, it's the same situation. Okay, with the aluminum, with the paint peeling off the aluminum. Okay, so there's no danger of any rust, any lead, none of those things.
Okay,
All right? Go ahead.
But Mr. Thomas, I'll ask you this. At the time that the photos were taken and at the time that the violations were written, those conditions existed, correct?
At the time it was written with the posts up in the middle and this and that, that's when the violation was written.
So the violations were valid at the time they were written?
Yes and no, because those two
Well, it
posts,
can't be yes and no. There's got to be yes or no.
those two 2x4s that was in the middle, they wasn't holding up the porch. They were holding up the roof inside the porch.
Mr. Thomas, the question I had of you is that were the violations?
No, they wasn't. No, they wasn't.
Okay, so what we see didn't exist at the time the violations were written.
The porch, the opening at the top of the porch was there.
Okay.
He's referring to wasn't there.
Would you scroll down to that next photograph, please, Mr. Cohen?
This is the last photograph.
No,
in the
scroll
city
scroll
packet.
up.
Okay.
So, Mr. Thomas, you're saying that didn't exist at the time the violations were written?
These two boards in the middle were there holding up the green. See the green part of the roof?
Yes, that's the ceiling or the porch.
Right, the ceiling. That's all they was holding up. They wasn't holding up the porch.
Would the ceiling rafters sit on top of that? That's
No,
why
they
you
don't.
had. That's
No,
why
they
you had that 2x12x8 running across there.
Yeah, the ceiling rafters was sitting on top of the two 2x8x12s.
Okay, all right, but the violation existed, correct? That isn't a normal condition that should exist. May I ask you this, Mr. Thomas? Why did you appeal the violation notice?
I appealed the violation because he's talking about the porch is falling down, which the porch isn't falling down.
He didn't say the porch was falling down. He said it was a dangerous condition.
He said the porch, the condition of the porch was in disrepair.
And it still is. And it is. And you've admitted. And the photographs say that it is in disrepair. That's disrepair.
Members of the board, if I can object at this point.
Okay.
The appeal itself does not mention anything about the property maintenance issues. So
okay,
essentially you can't bring them up if you didn't state them as grounds for the appeal in the first place.
Okay. All right. Thank you. My apologies. I overstated.
Mr.
Thomas,
the appellant essentially is arguing stuff that he had the opportunity to argue but failed to in the appeal notice.
Okay, I guess I would ask Mr. Thomas another question. Is that plywood boarding in the window, the front window there?
No, it isn't. That's actually brown paper.
Okay.
Like window, so like people, can like peep in there or see in there or whatever. Or she put that up in there for privacy or whatever.
Okay.
But that's not wood.
Okay. All
Brown
right.
paper inside of the window.
Okay.
Before you move from this photograph, just let me observe as well. I see 3 electric meters out in front of the property. I just checked the zoning file. This is not part of the violation notice, but because there's an issue of whether or not the property is vacant, the issue was pointed out that there's no rental license for the property. Mr. Thomas has represented that his niece and or his nephew live there from time to time, and I believe I heard him testify that they stay on the second floor. So would imply that perhaps there's at least 2 apartments, maybe 3, and there's no rental license for this property in effect. And as far as I could look at the zoning records, there's no approval for use other than as a single family house. I don't know whether that needs to be addressed at this hearing, but that also may be a condition that exists at this property.
Well, I actually think, board member, your point is well taken. Part of the issue at issue here in this violation is whether a vacant license is required because of the lack of the lawful presence of human beings. If there is a presence of human beings without a rental license or without proper zoning, then that would not be a lawful presence of human beings. But anything beyond that, I think, is beyond the scope of this appeal because these are violations that haven't been cited or issued yet.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Thomas, anything else you want to share with us?
Yeah, the property wasn't being rented to them. I was just letting them basically stay there so I can have, you know, a body in the house.
Okay.
Okay. The 3 meters was there when it was a rental property. It was first floor, second floor, and house meter. Okay. The house meter has been turned off. Okay. The first floor, I keep the electric and stuff on, not only for the electric, but also for the gas and for the heat during the winter time. So the pipes and stuff won't freeze. So I won't have any issues with that. Okay. That's why I kept all utilities on in the property. And as of this moment, everything is still on.
Okay.
As far as he mentioned about pulling licenses and this and that to make repairs, 9 million people go to Home Depot and Lowe's and pick up material and bring it back and repair their properties or repair their houses. Okay, so why should I be any different?
Well, because the code, let me answer that question, Mr. Thomas, and the inspector could probably give you a better answer, but I'll just say this to you. The code requires permits for certain level of repair. Even if you are the homeowner, you are required to get permits. And so in this instance, an inspector went to your property. They noted that there were no permits that were pulled for that location as part of the argument that it's a vacant property. That's why that was brought up. But there is no defense that everybody else does it. That's not a defense.
Why would I need a permit to put a piece of board up over the front of the porch?
You may not. We didn't say that you did for that. It was argued that a permit. Let me finish. It was argued that a permit had not been pulled. Therefore, the belief of the inspector is that it was a vacant property. That's what the argument was.
Okay, well, if the inspector would have called me or talk to me or whatever, like again, I said, I have called him numerous times. In the meantime, while all this was going on, one of the reasons why it was stretched out this long is because I went to a hearing 2 weeks ago on the same issue, and the city lawyer said they couldn't hear the case because I had filed an appeal.
That was appealed before which board?
I wonder if that's not a municipal court case. Is that correct?
On March the 27th, 2023, I went down to Chestnut Street. They sent me a thing for code enforcement complaint.
Was it the 6th floor of the land? No, not land title. 4th floor.
Mr. Thomas, what are you reading from? It should tell you the name of the authority.
1339 Chestnut Street, 6th floor, hearing room 4, March the 27th, 2023.
The board can take notice that that is a municipal court hearing in, I forget the name of the building, 1339 Chestnut on the 6th floor is where the municipal court has its courtrooms.
Okay, so why are we, well, explain to me, Mr. Cohen, how these two things are happening at the same time.
I wonder if this wasn't a case where, because the appeal was filed, I think at the last possible moment, where a municipal court case didn't sneak in and get filed and only now have its hearing about concurrent with the board having its hearing on this appeal.
Okay. So
by the way, the municipal court case would then be premature if the board hasn't ruled on this yet.
Okay. Okay, all right.
I mean, even today, I'm down at the lawyer's office because they sent me a letter. I mean, they sent me an email about the day, but they didn't give me no information on the Zoom. So I'm sitting down 15.
But Mr. Thomas, that's not part of your appeal. Let's move on to the appeal, okay? Let's stay on the appeal.
Round that I'm getting.
No, Mr. Thomas, you didn't read the information that you did receive, and you submitted the appeal. The address that was on all the communications was your Horter Street address. So you should have received that. But the point is that you submitted the appeal. And so we're trying to determine if the city wrote fairly and appropriately violations against what the inspector saw. And I think you've said on the record that in fact the conditions were as they're represented in this photograph.
When I went down, filed the appeal down on Arch Street, the lady was getting ready to have her lunch or something. So I said, well, I'm down here to see about this violation. So she says, the only thing you can do is file an appeal. So she tosses a piece of paper over at me, which was the appeal. And I said, okay, well, basically she said, all you gotta do is, basically write something down, the information, this and that, to file the appeal. I wasn't told that I had to go into depth. I had to fill out 2 or 3 pages to file the appeal.
Mr. Thomas, you're the property owner. It's your appeal. You're responsible as an adult. Let me finish. Don't talk over me, sir. Please let me finish. As you read the instructions, that's how you fill the form out. And you're responsible for doing that. Not based on what someone says to you on their way out the door to lunch. You have to do that appropriately. Now, I do have a question for you. You did have a rental license and you did have a vacant property license at one time. Why did you not renew your licenses?
At the time, I just got tired of dealing with the tenants, tired of this, tired of that, and other personal health issues, this and that. So I just said, look, I'm just going to do away with all that and just, just let family or whatever, wanted to stay in the house, go ahead and stay in it or whatever. And that was that. I was kind of like tired of being in the rental business and being this and being that. And basically, my plan is to hold on to the property until I die. It'll be one of my kids' inheritance.
Okay, but in the meantime, as long as you hold on to it and it's not your residence, you will have to have a rental property license if you want people to live in it. And if you don't have, let me finish. And if you don't have people living in it, then you have to get a vacant property license. That's what's required by the law.
I understand that, but it's people living in it and it's not rental. I'm not collecting any money off of this. I'm not collecting 1 cent. The electric, gas bill, water bill, I pay every month, and I have.
Mr. Thomas, if I may, even if you're not renting it and you have people living in it, under the city's procedures, under the Department of Licenses and Inspections, there are forms that are appropriate for you to fill out explaining and that there may be people living there who are relatives who aren't paying rent. So there is a set of forms that you have to fill out if you want to say that there are people living there who are not paying rent. Now, it sounds like you haven't inquired about filling out those forms in order to qualify for that exemption from having a rental license. Is that correct, Mr. Thomas?
Yes or no? I gave up rental. I don't want to be involved in rentals anymore.
Mr. Thomas, are you aware that there are forms that you need to fill out and that you haven't filled out?
No, I wasn't aware of that.
Okay, thank you.
So there's a solution for your issues, Mr. Thomas. I think if you consult with your real estate attorney, that person can probably help you structure it in a way that satisfies your current issues.
I don't have a real estate attorney.
By the way, all those forms that I referred to are easily available and easily found on the city's Department of Licenses and Inspections website, because I have recently gone there and printed out those forms.
Well, see, I didn't know forms. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this property in my daughter's name and I'm going to be done with it.
Okay, that's up to you and your daughter. But for in terms of today, the issue is that's not a defense for today, though. We have to deal with what we have before us today. Anything else, Mr. Thompson, you want to add, or any other questions from anyone?
Because I retired from the city after 36 years. Okay. I've been dealing with all the departments from the position I was in. Okay. I've been doing all types of construction work, everything. So I kind of like know what to do to make a repair and how to make repair. Okay. I have a truck with almost $100,000.
Mr. Thomas, wait a minute. I'd like you to focus on the problem before us. None of that's relevant to your issue today. Okay.
Right. I'm just trying to let
but that's not relevant to our conversation today. We're trying to help you.
Right. Okay. Okay, sir. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
that's not helping us get to a resolution.
I'm sorry. I'm just getting.
That's why I suggested you may need to consult a real estate attorney who can help you walk through this, or an attorney to help you walk through this. The violations are the violations, and the city wrote the violations. So the issue is, what do we do about it? Any other questions from anyone?
Just brief closing.
Yes, please.
With respect to the, I believe, affidavit of non-rental forms that the board was referring to earlier, this property is very much vacant and has been for the past year. Because as human beings, we all need to drink, we need to bathe, we need to use the toilet. All of those activities use water. And there has been a flat 0 water usage at this property over the past year. So there may have been someone temporarily occupying this property before April of 2022 when this case was first written, but for the past year it has been vacant. It does need a vacant license. Unless and until that changes, if someone does start using this property and starts using water and electricity, etc., that's a different situation. But for the records that the city sees and can show to this board, this property does need a vacant license. Now, specifically with respect to the bay window, the code doesn't specify what materials need to be covered. It just says they shall be maintained in good condition, and these materials shall be protected with protective coatings. It does specifically say other than decay resistant woods, aluminum not being in wood at all, but regardless, it does need to be touched up. It does need to be fixed so that that coating is no longer peeling and chipping. And with respect to the front porch, there is a separate requirement that it shall be maintained structurally sound and then also in good repair. And we did talk about the beams that were in the photo from 2021 and the lack of those beams in the photo more recently from 2023. But more importantly, we heard directly from the inspector that front of the porch does need to be closed. L&I does need to confirm that that is closed and cannot be, that no vermin, pests, rodents, etc. can enter it, because that is a problem. That is something that is not in good repair if there is any way for those pests to get into that porch and then get into the next door properties. So that's something L&I has not yet seen at this property. That's something that needs to be verified complied. So the city would therefore ask for this board to affirm the violations that are issued in this notice, because from the evidence that's been presented today, none of these issues has been addressed to the satisfaction of the code.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Thomas, any closing comments you'd have before we vote on this?
Again, the only thing I can say is that's his opinion. My opinion is it's closed up, it's secure, it's not going anywhere. The aluminum up top over the bay windows or whatever, that's going to eventually probably put siding or something up there. But if you look at the property right next to it, it's the same situation. Now, did that L&I guy, when he looked at mine, did he look at that one and write them up for the paint peeling? It's only 4 houses on that side of the street. It's only 4 houses. So why did he necessarily single me out? 2 of those houses are vacant. Okay, well, 2 houses are vacant.
Mr. Thomas, do you have any information about whether they have vacant licenses or not?
Well, the one, excuse the expression, the lady passed away 15 years ago, and her niece hasn't done anything with the house.
But you didn't answer my question.
No, I don't have any information on that, but I know.
So do you know if the violation notice is written against any of those 4 houses?
No, there isn't. I went online and there's no violations written against those houses.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We will now poll the board on HA 2022-003063 4905 Arch Street, Harry Thomas, City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
Okay, I think we have Mr. Pettit. You voted,
City affirmed.
yes. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Thomas's vote is unanimous, city affirmed. It means you lost your appeal, but you may appeal our decision. And if you need information on how to do that, check with the administrator, LNI. They can tell you how you to submit an appeal based of our decision, okay? Have a good afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, members of the board.
Okay, what do we have next?
That brings us to case number 17. Hearing appeal number HA 2022 002 937 2439 Cecil B. Moore Ave. Gilad Burgundy.
Okay, who's representing the city?
Good afternoon, members of the board. Leonard F. Reuter for the city of Philadelphia.
Afternoon. Who's representing the appellant? Gilad Burger Wren. Gilad Burger Wren. Mr. Rowder, have you had any conversations with the appellant?
I have not.
Okay. Mr.
Let me confirm service.
Yeah, please confirm service.
Service was made on April 19th.
Okay. Mr. Rowder, what is your preference?
The city would ask that this matter be marked dismissed for failure to appear.
Okay, thank you. What time do we have?
I
we have
have
here?
2:53, Mr. Chairman.
2:53?
Yeah.
Already. Okay, we will then poll the board on HA 2022-002937 2439 Cecil B. Moore Avenue, Gilad Burgerin, Bergerin, city affirmed, non-appearance.
City affirmed, non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed, non-appearance.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Okay, let's move on.
Case 18, I believe we're still waiting for a possible settlement agreement, so we'll skip that for now.
Yes.
No, I mean, I don't think, sorry, Chairman
Yes.
Watson, if he hasn't appeared on the hearing and I haven't heard back from him, I think at this point, I would just ask for city affirm for failure to appear.
Well, but you've negotiated an agreement with him. Have you attempted to reach out to him and find out what's going on?
Yeah, but he has not responded. So
Okay, what we're gonna do, we don't have many more to hear. We're gonna go through the end of the list and come back. If you haven't responded, we will then make a decision. Okay, all right, thank you.
Case number 21, hearing appeal number HA 2022 002938 5921 North Lawrence, Judith Odom.
Okay, who's representing the city?
Good afternoon, Board. Dejanay Davis on behalf of the City of Philadelphia.
Good afternoon, Ms. Davis. Do we have anyone? Is Judith Odom present?
She's on two different.
She's
cases.
present.
Okay. Ms. Odom, we need to see your image. You turn on your video?
I believe her video is on. It was just frozen.
Okay. All right. I see a telephone and I see a video. Ms. Odom, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
did.
you have two different devices. Would you mind closing the telephone and unmute your computer?
Okay.
Oh, there she is, I think. There she is. Okay, Ms. Odom, I'm Kenneth Woodson, Board Chair. Would you raise your right hand so that you can be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You can place your hand down. Ms. Davis, you have a witness?
Yes, the city would like to call Inspector Geraldine Brown.
Okay, Ms. Geraldine Brown, if you unmute yourself, raise your right hand so that you may be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth so help you God? We can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. So do you
Okay,
swear?
yes.
Okay, thank
Yes, I
you.
swear.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Place your hand down. Now, before we begin, Ms. Odom, the property in question, is that your residence?
It was, yes.
Okay, whose name is on the deed?
Mine,
Just yours alone?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Davis, please proceed.
Yes. Good afternoon, Inspector Brown. Can you please state your line of work with for the board?
Yes, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yes. I'm a code enforcement inspector for license and inspections
And how long have you been in that position?
for 12 years.
And can you
12
just,
going on 13, I'm sorry.
oh, no worries. My apologies. And can you tell the board some of your primary roles and duties in that position?
Yes, my role is to inspect vacant properties. We receive complaints on vacant properties and what
Just
I
for a
do
moment,
is-
Ms. Brown, my apologies. I
Yes.
need to break in. Mr. Wade, would you mind muting yourself? I think your conversation is coming through.
Not me, it's Miss Brown's background.
Oh, it is?
What's my
Oh,
background?
yeah. So there are people in your space, Ms. Brown, who are probably having normal conversations, but it's super sensitive microphone, so it picks up.
Okay, hold
So
on for
just-
1 second. I'll ask them to be quiet.
Thank you.
1 second, okay? Thank
Okay.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, what was your
Inspector Brown.
question?
Yes, I'll repeat the question. Can you please tell the board some of your primary roles and duties in your capacity with the law, with the LNI?
Okay, yes, some of my roles and duties are to inspect vacant properties, to see if the properties are secured or if there's anything going on that's a danger to the community.
And Inspector Brown, are you familiar with the property located at 5921 North Lawrence Street?
Yes, I am.
And can you tell the board how you are familiar with this property?
This is a property that I inspected initially on June 9th of 2022. The property was had missing windows, missing or boarded windows, and one door that was open in the rear, open for access.
In addition to this, with regards to this property, did you have the opportunity to review the public records as well as the LNI records with regards to this property?
Yes, yes.
And would you recognize some of those documents if I were to today?
Yes.
Permission to share my screen?
Yes, please.
Inspector Brown, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Let the record reflect I'm showing Inspector Brown what has been marked as city's exhibit 2. Inspector Brown, can you tell the board what exhibit 2 is?
Yes, it's the notice violation and order to correct.
And can you state the date in which the department, in which you stated that you inspected this property?
Yes, the date is June 9th, 2022.
And the responsible party's name?
Judith Odom.
And can you also tell the board the date in which the violation cited here had to be corrected?
It should have been corrected on or before July 14th, 2022.
Okay. Now I'm going to slowly scroll down C2. Can you tell the board some of the violations that are cited here with regards to 5921 North Lawrence?
Yes, no vacant property license. It says that the property is vacant and open to access, and that there were 10 missing or boarded windows and one rear door that was open to access.
And Inspector Brown, when you inspected this property on June 9th, did you also take photos of the property as well?
Yes,
Would you recognize those photos?
yes,
Let the record reflect, I'm showing Inspector Brown what has been marked as City's Exhibit 3. I'm going to scroll down to the first photo. Inspector Brown, can you tell the board what we see here?
yes, that's the front of the property.
And what are we looking at the top of this picture?
Yes, that's two missing windows that has boards up.
And what about this bottom portion of the photo?
That's the basement with missing windows boarded.
And if you can see, I know it's a little blurry, the date of this photo.
Yes, June 9th, 2022.
I'm now scrolling to the third photo of City's Exhibit 3. What do we see here, Inspector Brown?
That is the rear of the property.
And can you explain some of the condition of the property within this photo?
The property, fire damage, obviously fire damage, and there's missing windows that are boarded and missing. And then we have the rear door, which is not secured.
Okay. And you mentioned that rear door. I'm now showing you photo 3 of City's Exhibit 3. Is this that rear
Yes.
door you're referring to?
Yes, that's correct.
And again, if you can see the date of this photo.
Yes, June 9th, 2022.
Now, did you have opportunity to go back to this property after your June 9th inspection?
Yes,
And did you take photos at that next inspection?
yes,
Okay. Let the record reflect, I'm now showing Inspector Brown what has been marked as City's Exhibit 4. I'm going to slowly scroll down. If you need me to move a little slower, please let me know.
mhm.
I'm going to have to. I'm going to scroll out just a little bit to see. Okay. Inspector Brown, can you see my screen?
Yes,
Okay, I am now showing you the second photo of a City's Exhibit 4. Can you tell the board what we're looking at in this photo?
once again, the front of the property.
And are there still any missing windows from your initial
Yes.
inspection?
Yes, the violations for the front still exist.
And at this
Basement
time,
and second floor. I'm sorry, go
okay,
ahead.
no worries, my apologies. And at this time during your inspection, was there anyone living at the subject premises?
No, no one lived, no.
And can you state the date that this photo and these series of photos were taken?
Yes, July 25th, 2022.
What do we have here? What do we see here in this third photo, Inspector Brown?
That's the front door with a padlock on it. Well, no, that's not a padlock. That's a lock for a key to put keys on, yeah.
Moving on to this next photo of the rear property. Can you explain to the
Yes.
board what we still see again here?
Yes, violations still exist for the rear of the property.
Scrolling down to the next photo, you mentioned earlier that the concerns of the rear door. Does the rear door still remain in a similar condition on this
Yes,
July 25th inspection?
yes, it does.
I'm now scrolling down to additional photos that were taken on July 25th, 2022. Can you tell the board what we see here in this photo?
This is the rear of the property and it has been sealed by the clean and seal unit.
And can you
The rear,
explain
that's the rear door.
right? And can you explain to the board under what circumstances does L&I decide to seal a property?
When a property is open to access, especially if a property is close to a school, which in this situation, there's a school at the corner of this block. It was open to access.
And scrolling down to the next photo, in these series of photos taken July 25th, can you tell the board what we see here with these two windows?
2 windows that are missing, but they're boarded on the second level. They're not on the ground level, on the second level, upper level, yes.
Thank you, Inspector Brown. Now, did you get a chance to inspect the property recently?
Yes, on May 18th.
And did you also take photos on that during that inspection as well?
Yes, I did.
Let the record reflect, I'm showing Inspector Brown what has been marked as City's Exhibit C5. Scrolling down to the second picture. What are we looking at here, Inspector Brown, with regards to the condition of the property and the windows?
The front of the property, 5921 North Lawrence Street. Same violations exist in the front.
And upon your inspection on May 18th, 2023, was there anyone living at the subject premises?
No.
Looking at the third photo in Exhibit C5, what window is this?
The basement.
Okay. And this is an up close picture of the second floor window?
Yes, that's correct.
And I'm just going to scroll to another up close photo of one of the windows in the front.
Yes, that's correct.
It still shows that it's missing.
Yes.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Now, Inspector Brown, upon your inspection of this property and your review of all the L&I records, has there been a vacant property license obtained with regard to this property?
No, no license.
And based upon your various inspections of the property, has there ever been any living at this property since your initial inspection on June 9th, 2022?
No, not to my knowledge, no.
And based upon your most recent inspection on May 18th, 2023, does the property still remain in the same condition as you saw it on June 9th, 2022?
Yes, it does, except for one thing. The rear door has been sealed, has been
Thank you.
secured.
Thank you, Inspector Brown. No further questions for this witness.
Thank
Okay,
you.
all right, thank you. Ms. Odom, do you have any questions of Inspector Brown based on her testimony?
What time of the day does she go out to do her inspections?
Ms. Brown?
Anytime between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m.
Okay, so I work during those times, so you wouldn't find anybody there?
Okay, okay.
Anything else, Ms. Odom?
No.
Okay. Ms. Davis, do you have any additional witnesses?
No, I do not.
Okay, all right. Ms. Odom, it's your opportunity now to share with us your understanding of the facts.
Also on the appeal, the way this was sent out, some children set my car on. I know I heard everything that you said with the last one. So I want to make this the reason why it is important for the case. Children had set my car on fire, which caused my house to get caught on fire. And I had asked my insurance company, and I've been fighting with them for the last 3 years. And on my appeal, I asked for more time. And that's what the reason was. I understand that it's, what it is, but I've been working 2 jobs to get the money together to do something with that house.
Okay.
To fix it. And all I asked was to give me more time. I didn't know you had to have a vacant property license. I didn't know about all this. I paid my taxes. I know this is irrelevant to you.
Well,
but
let's
it's
do this
important
then.
I explained it. I
Okay,
paid
wait a
my
minute, Ms. Odom,
taxes for
Ms.
30
Odom,
years.
Ms. Odom, maybe
Yes.
we can help here. Okay, let's back up a little bit. Question for you. When you just take a moment, just take a moment. Just take a moment. Do we need to take a recess?
No.
Well, yeah, I think we do. Let's
I
go
was
off the record to 3:15. We're going to take a break. To
I was
3:15 to proceed.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Davis? Where we were, Ms. Odom, I think we were just engaging in conversation with you as to the current nature of the property. And you explained that you're having some difficulty with your insurance carrier as far as repairing the fire damage. And that I believe the fire damage resulted from someone setting your car afire, which also led to your house being damaged. Okay. There are a couple of questions that we need to put on the record though. And I would just ask you that we're sympathetic, but we are bound by the code to respond to the conditions as they exist. So we have to work with you to see what we can do to resolve this. How long has the property not been occupied, Ms. Odom?
Since the fire,
What was the date of the fire?
March 22nd, 2022.
Prior to March 22nd, 2022, who lived in the property?
My son and I,
Okay. And how long had you lived there?
since I bought it in 1992.
Okay. So you resided from 1992 to 2022.
Mhm.
Okay. And it was only vacant because of the fire.
Yes.
Okay. And you're living now in another property that you own?
No, I don't have another property.
Your current address, is that a rental or an apartment?
It's a rental.
Okay. So was it ever your intention to have the property, the Corson property rented out for income or not?
No, I was supposed to retire last year, and that's
Okay.
where I was going to stay.
Okay. So it's your intention to move back to that location?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, you mentioned that an issue with your insurance company. Did you have fire coverage on the property?
Yes.
And do you have legal counsel helping you with your dispute with the insurance company?
It was during COVID. I couldn't find a lawyer that would take the case.
Okay. Are you still looking for a lawyer?
Yes.
Okay. All right. What's the current status of your dispute with the insurance company?
They said that they're not going to pay for the structure. And that's what I've been going back and forth with because I paid all my premiums and when they came and saw the damage between the roof and the back, they said it's just going to be too costly for them. But I paid all the insurance, which covered all that, and they said it doesn't matter.
You had a homeowner's policy or just a simple fire policy?
I had a homeowner's policy that included everything.
Okay. Certainly you should be able to consult a lawyer about your rights in this matter and prospect of prevailing in the legal case. Ms. Davis, the issue here is in terms of the rental license. I think that's the principal issue, rental license and also accessibility because it's vacant.
The main issues with regards to this violation notice was the lack of a vacant property license in addition to the open and boarded up windows in front and all around the property.
Okay. Given that she's testified on the record that in fact she intends to move in as soon as she can get an insurance company to pay out for the loss.
I do have, if I may ask just a few questions.
Sure, please. Mhm.
Yes. Good afternoon, Ms. Odom. When did you find out that your insurance company was not going to pay for the rehabilitation of your home?
In 2022, during COVID.
You said 2022?
Yes.
So last year?
Yes, and I've been appealing, and I've been appealing, but they said I needed a lawyer, and I couldn't find a lawyer that would take on the issue. I guess it wasn't important enough. I don't know.
And aside from inquiring with your insurance company, did you contact any contractors to see if they, to fix the
Yes,
windows?
I had gotten appraisal about how much it would cost to fix the entire structure. I even had filed something with the city about how to rebuild it. I did all that, and they only gave me 30 days, and I couldn't find a contractor because they wanted their money up front. I had paid somebody like $1,000 to do this, and then I had to pay him another $500, and that's where we got stuck at,
And so,
because he wasn't going in and doing all what
okay,
he's
so,
supposed to do. But he did finish. I had to pay another $1,000 to get a reputable person, a company to file. I forget what they call it. It's a form where you can go in and you have the plans with the city, and they will get all the permits needed to go in and start fixing the house.
okay, so just for clarification, you sought a contractor to fix the entire house in its entirety?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so you didn't,
because they have to fix the roof in order to put the windows in, so they have to fix everything.
okay, and at the time, you filed your appeal to the board in July of last year, correct?
Yes.
And at that time, you were aware that you needed to have a vacant property license?
Yes, I was at that time, but I just didn't have the money for it.
Okay. And did you inquire about the steps to obtain the vacant property license?
I went on to your website and I looked at it, but it didn't make a lot of sense to me. And I called somebody at L&I, but I think they said you have to have an appointment to do something. So they could go over it with me.
Okay, I have no further questions from Ms. Odom.
Ms. Odom, is your son an adult?
Yes.
Is he available to help you in navigate this process?
Yes.
Okay. I'm asking you that question because some of what you may be facing is issues with technology. And so is he available to help you also do some of the legwork to find an attorney?
Yes.
Okay.
I can ask him, yes.
That would be helpful because you really need to check in, Mr. Pincus. We're not her attorney. We can't act in that stead, but I would suggest that she connect with the Bar Association. Is that appropriate, Mr. Pincus? You're muted, sir. Mr. Pincus, you're muted.
Ms. Odom, have you tried at all to contact the Philadelphia Bar Association? They have a lawyer referral service.
Yes, I did. And we had a meeting set up and he did not attend the meeting.
Well, have you called back to say that?
Yes.
And did they try to give you the names, or did you get names of other attorneys that you might contact?
They didn't give me any other attorneys. They said that was the best one for my situation at the time.
How long ago was that?
That was a couple of months ago. So I was looking for lawyers on my own.
There's also community legal services and there's also a senior citizens legal referral service as well. I don't know how old, I don't want to ask how old you are, but there are.
I'm 65.
There's a senior citizens legal services that may be able to help you. There's community legal services depending on your income. There's volunteers. Well, I don't think you're indigent, so I don't know that program would apply, but there's senior citizens legal services. I don't know that you would qualify for community legal services. And I certainly would suggest you go back to the Bar Association and the Lawyers Referral Service, because I've got to think that there may be more than one attorney who may have the proper experience to help you try to pursue a claim against your insurance company.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pincus. I think where we are right now, Ms. Odom, essentially, this is not a vacant property. This is not a habitually vacant property. And you lived in it until March of 22?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Davis, do you have any follow-up questions before we get to the point of closing, resolving this?
No, I just have a brief argument. That's about it.
Okay. All right, why don't you do it and make your brief argument, then the board itself may have some general comments to put on the record.
Okay.
Please.
Yes, so with regards to today's matter, though the city does understand the unfortunate circumstances that led Ms. Odom here today, the fact does remain that at the time that these violations were issued, that they were valid. Though Ms. Odom testified to residing at the property for some time from the time she purchased the property up until the fire occurred in March, as she testified to today, and as well as Inspector Brown testified to today, the property was vacant on June 9th of 2022 and has remained vacant. And as Ms. Odom also testified to, she, as of July of last year, was aware that a vacant property license was required, and is still required since no one is currently living in the property at the moment. In addition to the picture that you saw, you also heard testimony from Ms. Brown, Inspector Brown, regarding the health and safety concerns which resulted in the seal of the property to keep individuals and whatnot out of the property to ensure the community remains safe. As I know, the board is going to rule how they see fit. The city would ask for, in this case, due to the fact that the violations were correct at the time they were issued, that you all rule and city affirm. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Odom, do you have any final comments before we rule? I'm going to ask my colleagues to join me in the breakout room after Ms. Odom shares her comments with us.
I'm just requesting more time. I don't know how much the vacant property license is. Right now, I am working 2 jobs to get the house paid, but I have to pay rent. And the rent is very high in Philadelphia. If you don't know, it's high.
Are you also paying a
so-
mortgage, Ms. Odom?
No, I did pay that off. I had to pay that off in order for them to give something to my insurance. But my rent is going up from, what is it, 1,300, and now he wants 1,500 a month. And then he said, probably next year, it'll be close to 2,000. So.
And if I may,
that was 4 times.
if I may, Ms. Odom, I believe Inspector
Yes.
Brown can also provide some assistance with information on the process of obtaining the vacant property license and the cost, if she knows it offhand. I do not know it offhand, but Ms. Brown probably be more suited to provide that assistance for you.
Okay, I invite the board members to join me in the breakout room for a short conference. Thank you.
Sir.
Okay. We're back on the record regarding 5921 North Lawrence Street. We've heard the evidence and the testimony from the city as well as Ms. Odom. Ms. Odom, would you unmute yourself, please? Ms. Odom, before we state our position in terms of decision, but we're going to recommend that you call your local elected official, whoever you're most comfortable with, your city council person, your state rep, or your state senator, or even possibly your congressman office. But the local reps would be the better the constituent service. They may be able to help you connect with the appropriate legal representation to resolve this issue in a way that makes more sense. And also get back in touch with the Bar Association for a referral and follow up on that, and the Senior Law Center. Now, Ms. Odom, can you unmute yourself? Have you figured out how to do that? You still
muted.
Okay, I'm not sure what happened. Did she disappear? I don't see her. Ms. Wade, did she somehow take herself out?
Every time I change the screen, it kicks me out of Zoom and then I have to come back in.
Okay, all right. So are you back in now, Miss Odom?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you, but we can't see you. As long as we can hear you, we'll make this fast. What we're
Right.
going to do, we're going to continue this case for 120 days. And what we're going to do, we're doing that for the purposes of Ms. Odom, for you to take advantage of legal advice to try to take steps to resolve your issue. It's complicated. There's a lot going on, and we feel the best, most appropriate way to do this is continue it. Okay?
If I
Ms.
just
Davis?
may,
Yes, please.
Chairman, just
Yes.
object to the continuance for the record.
Understood. Yeah, it's so noted for the record. Thank you very much. Ms. Odom, what that means is that no further action will be taken. You're going to be given another date to come back to see us in 120 days. We're hopeful by then you will have found a lawyer, you will have made some progress on getting your case resolved, and you will be on your way to moving back to your house. Okay?
I got kicked out again after she objected, so I didn't hear it in between what you said.
The decision of the board is to continue your case for 120 days. Okay? To give you an opportunity to get a lawyer, to get some additional assistance from organizations or agencies to help you resolve your insurance problem. Because this is an insurance issue, it seems to us, and that we need you to be able to get that started. And 120 days should be adequate time to allow you to do that, okay? You will be given a new hearing date. Understood?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
And Chairman, before I conclude, the city will ask to have all of their exhibits be admitted.
Yes, so moved.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good afternoon. Is that your final matter, Ms. Davis?
Yes, it is.
Okay, you excuse.
Thank you. Have a good one, everyone.
Okay. All right. Mr. Odom, your matters is set aside for today. You can sign off.
I'd like to call case 18.
18?
Hearing appeal HA 2022-003027, 1934 Rowan Street, Oliver Quisette.
Okay, who's representing the city?
Mary Costello, Chairman Woodson, on behalf of the city of Philadelphia.
Okay, and do we have the appellant present?
He is not present, but I would just ask for a continuance for this matter because I do believe that it will be resolved.
Okay, and excuse me. And this is okay, and this is number 18, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then we will continue that matter. And your response to my question regarding standing was that you believe the appellant listed is the contractor?
I do, yes.
Okay. All right. We just noted as continued then. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. So Mr. Wade, what do we have next?
Case number 23, hearing appeal number HA 2022-003167, 1408 through 10 Reed Street, 1408 Reed Street, Reed LLC.
Okay. Who's representing the city?
Thank you. Good afternoon. May it please the board, Leonard F. Reuter, REUTER for the city of Philadelphia. Mr. Wade put opposing counsel Meredith Erliger and I into a breakout room earlier, and we have decided to continue the case. I told Meredith, Ms. Erliger, that she could leave because Mr. Wade can confirm that we spoke.
Okay. All right. So Mr. Wade present?
He's here.
Mr. Wade, just want you to confirm on the record that this is a joint request for a continuance?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll continue this matter. Thank you. Okay. So what do we do next?
Real quick, was there any time frame for that, Len?
It's probably going to take a little bit, like maybe 30 days at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that brings us to case 28. Hearing
28?
Hearing appeal HA 2022 003071 West Oakdale, Terry Stanks.
Okay.
Good
Who's representing
afternoon,
the city?
members of the board. Jeffrey Cohen for the city. I actually believe it is Terry Sparks. The R and the N in that look very similar, but the Sparks is, I believe, the correct last name.
Okay, would you spell that, Mr. Cohen?
Yes, SPARKS.
Okay, thank you. Is Terry Sparks available? Anyone representing that address? Anyone present? Okay, Mr. Wade, would you check the record, determine if
Service was made.
service was made? Mr. Cohen, what's your preference?
The city would respectfully request city affirmed for failure to appear.
Thank you. HA-2022-003071, 1554 West Oakdale Street, Terry Sparks, city affirmed, loan appearance.
Mr. Chairman, the time for the record is 3:46 PM. My vote is city affirmed, lack of appearance.
Thank you so much, sir.
City affirmed, not appearance.
City affirmed, non-appearance.
Thank you very much. That matter is resolved. Thank you.
Thank you, members of the board.
Yep.
Case number 32. Hearing appeal number HA 2022 002945, 151 Champost Ave, Lafette C. Fanning.
Okay, who's representing the city?
Sorry, thank you.
Oh, Mr. Broder, yeah.
Sure, thank you. May it please the board, Leonard F. Reuter for the city of Philadelphia.
Okay, thank you. Anyone present representing Lafayette C. Fanning?
Yes, Lafayette Fanning.
Okay, Mr. Fanning, just want to make sure. Oh, yes, there you are. Okay. Mr. Fanning, would you raise your right hand so that you may be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give today be the truth so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you, sir. You can place your hand down. For the record, just note that it appears that you're in a vehicle. Are you driving?
No.
Okay, just want to make sure that you're in a safe place and you're parked, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Sir, is your name the only name on the deed or is there someone else on the deed with you?
Me and my wife.
You and your wife? Okay.
Yes.
So it's okay. Thank you. Alrighty. So this will be read it in. Mr. Ryder, you have any witnesses for today?
Well, I'm supposed to, but I'm not seeing him here, and he was not, as far as I know, on the list for training today, although that's possible that changed.
Can you go forward without him?
I believe so, because I don't really think there's any dispute about the facts. The issue here is whether or not a retaining wall that was put in the front of the property, make sure I'm talking about the right case. Yes, whether or not that retaining wall needed a permit. There's no dispute that there was no permit obtained for it.
Okay.
So if we, I can probably just, let me just pull up a couple documents if you just bear with me. So again, there's no dispute that there, the front of the property is, you know, the building itself is up on a slight elevation, and it's like, you know, got the short front area, and there is a wall holding it. And I'm going to pull up what we have. If you just bear with me for a
Sure.
moment, if I could share my screen.
Yes, please.
All right. Great. Great. Now, can you all see that?
Yes.
No, I can't see nothing.
Okay, it's just exhibit C1. You see that, those letters at the top?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, it might be a little hard to see on your phone, but we'll see what we can do. Now, this is just, and this is actually part of what we were going to ask, because it had come up before in other cases. It may be that this case could get referred to the Board of Building Standards. So, and in fact, it looks like it might have originally been appealed to the Board of Building Standards and then either referred back here or maybe the other way around. because you can see that the appeal is an appeal for variance, alternate materials and construction methods.
Well, let's
So-
inquire of Mr. Fanning. Mr. Fanning, did you appeal this to the Board of Building Standards?
I'm not sure. They sent it to me the mail and I filled out and sent it back. So I'm not sure where it came from.
Yeah, so if you can see this form, Mr. Fanning, and I think the board can see it, this is an appeal to the Board of Building Standards, but I think maybe if this board establishes that he's not contesting the violation, but he's saying that
I'm not.
he shouldn't have to get a permit, then I think maybe it could get referred, but I want that to, maybe we can get that established. So this is the violation notice.
Okay, would you magnify that a bit, please?
I will
Hmm.
certainly try. Whoops, wrong one. I have to come out of the full screen. Hold on. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I apologize for that. It looks like it was literally just photocopied and scanned in. So the violation notice was issued based on an inspection. It looks like the date was June. The notice of violation was issued June 9th, 2022. And again, Mr. Fanning, did you receive this violation notice?
I don't recall. I'm not sure.
Okay, but you
I
appealed.
can't see it.
Okay. but
Yeah,
you-
I appealed it because
Okay, well, hold on for a
the
second.
wall
Just-
fell.
Okay,
Right.
hold on a minute, Mr. Fanning. Hold on a minute.
So there were two things, and this may be why it got sent here. There was a change in the front retaining wall, so that requires a zoning permit and a building permit if it's more than
I
2
didn't know
feet.
that.
If it's more than 2 feet. Now, again, I want to just get to these photos. Mr. Fanning, is this your home?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and this woodwork, this wood that's here, is that holding in like dirt and concrete and stuff?
Yes, that's where the retaining wall is at.
Okay,
I got poured concrete down there for the retaining wall.
okay. So you agree that you're admitting that you did this work, right?
Yes,
Okay, and
I
you
didn't do it. I got a contractor to do it.
you got a okay, you got a contractor to do it. And as far as you know, like you didn't pull a permit for it, and
No, I believe the contractor had to do it because he
Okay.
said he got everything covered.
okay. So again, I'm just showing this, and this is an accurate depiction of what the front of the property looked like, at least back in June of 2022.
Yes,
Okay. It's more photos, more photos, more photos. So, and that's what it looks like now. I don't know
Mr.
if you can
Fanning,
s-
is that
can
the
you-
finish? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. So on the basis of that, the city issued, this is a nicer copy, of this violation notice. Again, saying, so again, there had been a retaining wall at the I'm going to stop sharing well, wait, I think there may be one other thing. So this is, for Mr. Fanning. This was again, this is a cleaner copy of the NOV that was issued.
okay.
Could you just go back, Mr. Reuter,
I'm
to
not-
the last picture of the completed wall?
Sure. That one?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Pincus, you have a question?
No, I guess I'm waiting to hear the presentation. There's some argument raised that the wall is the same height as the original wall, and it said, I think it's stated in the petition that it's 2 feet high. And I'm just trying to look at it and see if it's more than 2 feet, or where we are, and whether it was just an issue of getting a permit to do the work, and that didn't get done. The permit
Yes.
wasn't obtained.
So again, if I think the question may be, well, there's two things. One, there was a Mr. Fanning, was there a retaining wall there previously?
Yes, it was. It
What was-
cracked and it fell. Half of it fell down.
Was that stone or brick or?
The wall fell twice. The first, when I first bought the hot property, the wall was made out of brick. Then I had it made then I had a contractor come out there and they put I guess it's it's called cement block, that's what it is.
Okay,
And it cracked like 3/4 of the way between my house and the house to the left of it.
okay.
And it fell. The neighbor told me it fell. So I called a contractor out and he said, my problem is I need to put a concrete wall up. So I told him to put a concrete wall up.
Okay. So it's the city's position, and again, I think Mr. Fanning has admitted that he didn't pull a permit. We don't have a record of a permit having been pulled. So the question is this a retaining wall that requires a permit, or or in the alternative, could he get a variance from the requirement? Although that's kind of probably not worth pursuing, because to get before the Board of Building Standards on a variance request, you basically have to submit a building permit application anyway. So, you know, the city's, if Mr. Fanning wants to try to pursue a variance from this, we would, I don't really have a problem if you wanted to refer it to the Board of Building Standards, but it seems to me that they're still going to require him to submit a building permit application if he's not contesting the violation, but is actually asking for a variance. So
Mr. Rodder, I do have a question for you. What's the code say in terms of that? I think you showed that when the NOV was shown. What does the code say regarding when a permit is required?
So there's two sections. There's a zoning permit section, and again, depending on what was there before and how it was removed, if it didn't, again, that we don't want to have to make this too big of a deal, but technically that would be before, that could go before the zoning board to determine whether or not it was abandoned and whether he needs a new permit. If he's saying it collapsed, you know, I think that we can discuss with LNI, with the department, that he may not need a new zoning permit if it was just replacing a wall that had collapsed. Again, as long as the dimensions have not changed. So everything comes down to the 2 feet. If it's no longer 2 feet, then he would need a new zoning permit as well. Now, he's always going to need the building permit. So that's kind of the main thing. Again, if he's saying he doesn't need a building permit because it's 2 feet or less, he can submit an application. If it is less than 2 feet, then they'll agree and he can get the permit. Or then he won't need the permit. But if they say no, it's more than 2 feet.
Okay, I guess I have very specific questions, Mr. Rodder. Let me change the way I asked the question.
Sure.
Actually, I probably two places. Mr. Fanning, the dimensions of the new wall, is it taller than the old wall?
No, it wasn't. It's the same height. That's the
Okay,
contractor that I had do it. Say it's gonna be the same wall.
Okay, same height. Do you know what the dimensions are? Do you know the measurements?
No, I don't.
Okay, Mr. Rodder, the code itself, I understand the zoning issue, which is if it's replacing a like structure, no, it's grandfathered zoning wise. But in terms of building code, what does specifically the building code say, particularly on that document that shows the violation?
Yeah. So again, I think it's really the same requirement as the zoning permit. If it's you need the permit if it is more than 2 feet with and it has the corner pillars. So
and it has footings. Does it say anything about footings?
Let me pull that section.
Yeah, if we could pull that up, then we can just read it.
I guess if I may, because I'm a little confused, the violation notice says he built a wall over 2 feet high. The wall appears to be 2 feet, but I guess did the pillars make it more than 2 feet?
Well, yes, you're allowed to have pillars, but again, I guess that's why there maybe is a little bit of problem not having the original inspector, because we don't have the measurements. I don't think that we can make an estimate based upon you know, what it looks like in the photos.
Well, could you put the NOV up again, Mr. Rodder, please?
Yeah, and now the code section is A301.1.1.
Okay.
So we have that.
Well, there's a fine associated with the violations as well. But if in fact he didn't violate, if the wall is 2 feet or less, then he may not be in violation.
Well, right, but again, it was the fact of the violation having been issued means that L&I made a determination that it did not meet the requirement.
Right.
Or it didn't meet, or it exceeded the threshold where he would not have needed a permit. So again, what we would be willing to do is we could continue the case, allow him to submit a permit application. If he submits a permit application, he's going to need to have measurements on the permit application that are accurate to what's actually out there. If he can prove that this wall is not higher than 2 feet, then he won't need the application. They'll just say you don't need to do the application. So if he wants time to do that, that's fine.
Okay, well, it sounds like what we probably need to do, Mr. Ryder, because you don't have your witness, and I think Mr. Fanning really needs to get some information and come prepared to argue his point.
We can ask, we can continue it, and if he can, if
I'm
he
not
wants,
arguing.
No, you misunderstand, Mr. Fanning.
oh.
Mr. Fanning, listen to me. You're misunderstanding what I'm saying. What I'm saying to you is this is your appeal. If you
Yeah.
appeal something, you have to come prepared with documents, with data, arguing to make your point.
Yes.
Understood? If you're saying to us that the wall is not over 24 inches, you need to come with drawings and say
Okay.
it measures X height and length. You need to do
Yes.
that. Also,
Okay.
you need to talk to your contractor and have him give you the drawings that he used and tell you what his footings are like, how far down he went, what material he used. You need to have all that if you're going to defend yourself.
Okay.
Okay.
I
So I'm trying
gotta call him.
You got to call him. You got to find out why he didn't submit that permit application also.
Right, because he well, I did talk to him when I first got there. He
Okay.
said he didn't believe that he needed a permit for a wall that's only 2 feet high.
Okay. Well, in this case, the inspector disagreed. So you got a violation.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, and what I will do, Mr. Roder, because of you need your witness as well, we will continue this matter. Now, one final question, Mr. Fanning. Do you live in this residence?
Yes.
You do live there. I'm
Yes.
asking this because you told me your neighbor said it fell down. You would know that yourself if you lived there. Right?
I was inside the house.
Okay.
I
All
was
right.
inside the house, and it was kids out there. The neighbors, the kids on the other side of me was playing on the wall.
Okay. Okay. All right. It fell. Okay. It looks nice
Yeah.
though. I like that design. I mean, he did a good job. But we're going to continue this matter and we'll reschedule it.
Now, how do I get a what do you say? I need an application for.
You're going to need to talk to your contractor, and you need
Okay.
a permit application. Is what he's suggesting that you need to do.
Uh-huh. So I
But
have to
all
talk
of
to
that's
my
on the
contract.
all that's on the L&I website.
And one
Okay.
further thing, Mr. Fanning, I don't know, I only have page 1 of 2 of the violation notice. On page 2 is probably the name and telephone number of the inspector who wrote the violation. And it seems that either you or your contractor should be in touch with that inspector, who probably was the inspector that Mr. Reuter was hoping
I
that.
don't remember the I don't have a copy of that.
well, and again, by the next listing, I'll make sure that we have an inspector and that they go out and actually measure the wall. Now, again, the post on the end can be higher than 2 feet, but the wall itself can't be more than 2 feet. So
Okay.
okay. All right.
Yes.
Thank you. So we're going to continue this. Mr. Fanning, you got some homework to do.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Get there. Okay, Mr. Wade, what do we have next?
This should bring us to our final 2 matters. Mr. Reuter might be able to provide a little clarity on 37 and 38.
Okay.
Case 37, hearing appeal number HA 2023-001-880, 2309 East Frankfurt Ave, Amy Hart. And case 38, hearing appeal HA 2023-001-790, 2309 East Frankfurt Ave, Miranda Jajay. I have a notation of move complied. I don't know if that was a tenant that moved out, but I'd defer to Mr. Reuter on case 38.
Okay.
So getting some feedback there.
Okay.
So
Good afternoon. My name is Amy Hart.
Okay, wait a minute, Ms. Hart, just for a moment. We need you to mute yourself for a minute. There's getting a lot of feedback in your background. So if you
Okay.
mute yourself for a moment.
So
Do you know how to, wait a minute, Ms. Hart, do you know how to mute yourself?
I could do it. Hold on.
That it's muted.
Mr. Rod, I just want to make sure there's a lot of feedback. I was trying to eliminate that feedback. Okay, there you go. Okay. Mr. Router,
sure, this matter concerns, well, it's a little bit tricky. So there were two appeals that were filed. This matter just concerns property maintenance violations that were issued to 2309 Frankfurt, and that was followed up with an intent to cease. The first appeal was filed by a tenant, Ms. Jajay, who I don't believe is present. And then the second appeal, so all Ms. Jajay was asking for in her appeal was more time to find a place for her and I guess her child to relocate to. That was a while ago, and I don't know really what happened with her. In the meantime, Ms. Hart filed an appeal that was sort of unclear, and we weren't really sure what the appeal was. It appeared to be asking the board to not grant the appeal that Ms. Jajay had filed because the property owner wanted to do the work on the property, and they weren't going to be able to do that while the tenant was still there. So given how that was kind of an odd, well, that and one other thing, which is that the person who filed the appeal is, I believe, an expediter, and expediters aren't attorneys, and they can't, an expediter may or may not be able to file the appeal, but they can't file an appeal on behalf of the property owner, who may or may, I believe, is here anyway, so it may be a moot point. But so what we said is, well, it is a cease, so it probably should be heard on an expedited basis. But we weren't really sure what Ms. Hart or the Hendricks were actually appealing, since they were not contesting the violations. They were appealing. It was almost as if they were appealing Ms. Jajay's appeal. We didn't really understand, but we said that we would agree to hear it on an expedited basis on the condition that Ms. Jajay's appeal be heard at the same time. So
Okay.
the board listed these for today. I believe that Ms. Jajay has in fact left the property, which would come, although I don't think it's marked as such on the, I think the appeal may be moot. I don't think the violations have been complied, because I think the property maintenance conditions still exist. But if Ms. Jajay's appeal is now moot because she's gone, then whatever appeal, whatever it is that Ms. Hart filed would also be moot, because it seemed like they were only wanting to get Ms. Jajay out of the property. So
okay. Well, let's go back to some basics. There's a list, attorney listed, Kyle Hendricks. Is that person present?
Yes.
Mr., it's crossed out on my copy of the appeal. It says attorney information. That is crossed out, and it says owner Kyle Hendricks. You know?
Yeah, I'm not an attorney.
Okay, sir, are you the owner?
Yes, me and my brother own the property together.
Okay, would you raise your right hand so that you may be sworn, please? Do you swear affirm the testimony you give today be the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do.
Now, the property, is it owned? You can place your hand down. Is it owned as the LLC?
No, it isn't.
It's just owned by tenants in common, the two of you, as the only two names on the deed.
We have two other brothers. We inherited the property. My dad passed away.
Okay, all right. So we may have an issue with standing. Okay. Okay. So who was Amy Hart?
We were applying for a rental license, and she was our expediter.
Okay. Is she currently on the screen today?
Yes.
Okay. Where's
I'm here.
Ma'am, are you Amy Hart?
I am Amy Hart.
Okay, all right, and your role in this matter? Well, before you answer any question, raise
So-
your right hand. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give in this matter to be the truth so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, now, what is your role here, ma'am?
Excuse me, Ms. Hart,
Okay, so-
could you adjust your computer or camera so that we could actually see your face?
Yeah, thank you very much.
All
Okay, now,
right,
what's your relationship to this
Go
matter?
so I'm the licensed expediter. I was hired to obtain a rental license for the property. In doing so, I ran into some complications with the 3 tenants that were there. They would not allow access for the lead guy to go in and do the lead cert. After all, then this whole situation arose that there was violations, and the owners of the property want to comply with the violations, but to comply with the violations, we would need the tenants to vacate the premises because some of the violations, the first floor needs to be turned back to a commercial space. And
Okay.
in order to do so,
Okay, that's enough. That's enough. We have enough. Okay. Thank
All
you.
right.
So, Mr. Ronda, I think what we need to do is let's dispose of the number 38 first, because that's the easiest one. We just need to get that done
So-
for the record.
At 38, just so I'm clear, 38 is the appeal by, oops, see, I actually got that list.
Marianne,
38 is Miranda Jage.
yes.
Jage. So we would ask that that be dismissed for failure to appear.
Okay, so let's deal with that before we do anything else. Mr. Wade, would you check to see if this service was made?
I'm looking. Service was made.
Okay, thank you. And the time we have, Mr. Pincus?
4:12 PM.
Okay, already. And based on that, we will poll the board on number 38. Appeal number HA-2023-001790, 23 East Frankfurt Avenue, Miranda Jage, Jaje, city affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance. City affirmed non-appearance.
Thank you very much. Now, with regard to number 37, before we go any further, I'm going to ask my counsel to weigh in terms of standing for Mr. Hendricks, who represents the interests of 3 other parties plus himself.
Yes, I mean, I think the main issue is whether or not Mr. Hendricks has the consent of the other owners of the property to be bringing this appeal.
Mr. Hendricks, you have anything formal in writing that would indicate that your brothers have authorized you to speak for them?
My one brother is on with Amy, and we also had something notarized that she could speak because I wasn't sure if she would be allowed to speak for us or not.
She can't. You have to have a lawyer, or you have to do it yourself.
I don't
Mr.
have
Well,
anything in writing.
if I might interject, again, I think we can just dispose of the case with one simple question to Mr. Hendricks or Ms. Hart or anybody.
Well, that's
that,
Mr. Rutter, my problem is that I don't know if we can get to the point of hearing the facts if we can't hear it from him. That's the issue. And I just want to resolve and be consistent in terms of how the board operates.
But they could withdraw the appeal based on the question.
Okay. All right. I'll limit it to
So,
that narrow question.
Very,
then.
very
Okay.
simple. Whoever knows, did Ms. Miranda Jage vacate the property? Is she gone?
As far as I know, she is not.
No, they're
Not
all
gone.
still on the property.
Yeah, they refuse to leave. We're trying to, get our
Okay.
license for a rental.
Okay.
And the one person has a big dog and we can't get in the building.
Okay, so thank you. So Mr. Chairman, again, even if they were here represented by counsel or had the authority of the other brothers, that Ms. Jage's appeal now is dismissed for failing to appear. And their appeal is, again, to the extent it's a legitimate appeal at all, is to not grant Ms. Jage's appeal. So it does seem like the matter, whatever issues they're having with the tenant have nothing to do with this board.
Correct.
So
their appeal is moot.
I would ask that it be dismissed for mootness. Thank you.
It's moot. Yes. Ms. Hendricks, no, we aren't going to have any more testimony. The reality of it, you guys got a mess and you got to resolve it through legal counsel. Not something within the purview of the board.
Okay, I have a question. It's okay.
Very, very limited because theoretically you shouldn't be allowed to bring it in.
Very quick question. So what we were appealing was the cease. We just wanted you guys to cease the building so you guys could help us in getting the building corrected. So now that Miss JJ didn't show up for her appeal, we were appealing her being able to stay. So she's not able to stay now, correct?
We did not make a decision based on her ability to stay.
Yeah, this board doesn't decide those issues. That's something you're going to have to bring up. You're going to have to seek an attorney's advice on that. This is strictly having to do with what her appeal has been dismissed. So the board is not giving her more time, but beyond that, this board won't have anything to
All right,
do
so
with.
that basically answers my question then, because then I can contact our inspector and he can cease the building with the cops like he planned on. Simple.
Yes. Well,
Thank you.
that's
Well-
not before the board, so we don't have an opinion about that. That's something you
Yeah,
need to
that's
work
fine.
out with your. Okay, Mr. Router, anything else?
No, the city has
So-
nothing else. We
so-
would ask
so-
that it be marked moot, dismissed or moot, whatever.
We
Either
will
way,
mark it as moot. I think the most appropriate thing is to mark it as moot. Okay.
that's fine. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Router, does LNI have a scheduled cease operations for this?
Once the board decision is issued, then yes, I think what'll happen is that they will go out and they may effectuate the cease. But again, I don't necessarily want to get into the details of how they would effectuate a cease when there's a tenant at the property.
Okay.
So again, as you might understand, that's something that we try not to get involved in.
Okay.
If we can help it. Because the appeal has been dismissed, then the tenant will have to leave, but the timing of the city going out and doing anything is this kind of separate, thing that.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. That matter is resolved for us. Okay. It's been marked as moot.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good
great day.
afternoon. Okay.
Thank you. They can leave. I've noticed that there's a Mr. Alex Daku that's been present the whole time.
I messaged him and let him know his case was moot complied. So he-
Okay, great. Thanks. I was going to say the same thing. All right. I
Okay.
have no further business. May I be excused.
Yes, sir. Have a good afternoon. Mr. Ware, do we have any other matters before us?
No.
Mr. Wade, okay. All righty. Thank you very much, everyone. I just asked the board to join me in breakout for closing executive